Hello, everyone, and ciao, ciao. It's your pal Chris here with a very special video only episode of the Giallo Ciao Ciao podcast. And I say video only because today marks the official release of the Giallo score website redesign, and I wanted to give a quick preview of it to everybody. And show you around a little bit and let you know what I've been up to. And maybe preview it for people who've never seen it before, who have never been to it before. And it shouldn't take long, but I just kind of wanted to make the announcement and show it a little bit. And so here we go. Now, as you can see, everyone, this is the new website. And what I did basically was I took the screen grab. I think the most iconic screen grab that exists in Giallo films is this one here in the background, which is a very quick still taken from The Case of the Bloody Iris right before our main murder is about to take place. And it's kind of filmed from, I guess, from looking up at the killer. Of course, Martino did it in such a way where obviously you can't tell who the face is, but it's just you can make out the glove, the switchblade, the hat, maybe even glasses. I don't know. But I used that on my old site. And so I wanted to keep it. Meanwhile, I did redo the logo because I think it was time for a rebranding. And I'm not going to lie, I had AI work up this logo for me. I said, give me something that looks like it's kind of dripping blood. And make the word Giallo yellow, and it said, okay. And so there we have it. I don't ever claim to be a Photoshop person. I'm not a graphic artist. I'm not a front-end developer per se. So I don't have any problem with AI helping me out a little bit on this. So if you are an artist and you're unhappy about that, I'm very sorry. I apologize. Anyway, one of the things that's different about the Giallo Score news site is that I've taken away a lot of the fluff. Initially, when you went to the website, it was welcome to the site, and this is what the site's about, and there was a little blurb from episode 6, I think, where Matt and Eric had me on the show for the very first time to talk about the website, and all of that's gone for now. Because I really think that the Giallo score needs to be a resource for information, kind of a database, a reference manual, as it were. So when you get to the website, you'll see that we go right into the list of films. And right now I have 83 films in the database, and by default they are sorted by the highest score. Now, how do you know what the score is? You roll your mouse over each one of these little boxes, and it will tell you the score, which is pretty cool. So, I grabbed various screens from each of the films, and on this page, again, if you don't do any sorting or any filtering whatsoever, you're going to see all of the films in the database from highest to lowest score, all 83 of them. And if I quickly scroll down, you can see how many there are. Death Laid an Egg has the worst score in the database at the moment. A couple of things that you can do here is if you want to sort the list based on low to high score versus high to low, or if you want to sort it based on title, All the Colors of the Dark, Amok, or if you want to sort it by the year in which it was released. So Girl Who Knew Too Much is the first one on our list. Death on the Four poster. You can see that most of these up until this point are in black and white, which is pretty cool, actually. So that's that. Now, also, you can search. You can type in death. And by typing in death, you get all the films with the word death in the title. You can type in Fulci, and you can get all of Fulci's films. You can type in 1973, and you'll get all the films in the system right now that have come out in 1973. Not that many. Honestly, I should probably watch some more Giallo from 1973. Let's see. So if we did something like Ennio Morricone, this is a list of all of the films where Ennio Morricone had something to do with the film. Now, basically, when you search, it's looking at the director, it's looking at the composer, it's looking at the title, and it's looking at the year. I think that's it. But I did introduce a few other ways to filter this list, and I'll show you those in a second. But like for example, if we did if we did all of these, here's a whole bunch of Ennio Morricone. They load up by the score highest to lowest, but even with a filtered list, you can do them in order of their alphabetical title, or you can do them in order of when they were released. In this case, the year from newest to oldest. So that's our search page. Lots of functionality there, lots of ways to find the Giallo that you're looking for. There's a clear filter button right here. It brings it back to the 83 films. Now let's take a look at one of these films, and I'm going to show you kind of what I did different compared to the old site, if you're familiar with the old site. So let's take a look at, I want to look at one that's got some data that is important here. So let's take a look at Strip Nude for Your Killer. No, I don't want to look at that one actually. Let's look at Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. We recently covered that on the podcast, maybe 2 episodes ago, so go back and listen to that. So here we have the detail page, The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, we have the Italian title, and we have the score in pretty big, prominent, font. In the first fold of the page, we have a movie poster, we have the stats about the film, and on the right-hand side, we have the score summary. Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward got an 83. And before I show you the film stats functionality, this is the breakdown of everything that, all the points that the film accumulated. So we could take a look at this, and I put this little instruction here to mouse over for more info. So if you put your mouse over Italian director, we get a little flyout that gives you the long description of each one of these pieces of criteria. For example, after the final revelation, the killer should avoid capture or incarceration through accidental death or suicide. That's a big 10-pointer. We also have the signatures, and again, you can only get 10 maximum. But if we go back to, let's take a look at Deep Red, for example, you'll notice that there is an additional line item here that says bonus signature points, 10. And that will show as you scroll down. You can see all of the signature points that Deep Red got, 20 out of 10. But again, only 10 contribute to the final score. So the site understands that there's more than that, and so for every signature that gets checked off, it shows up here. But again, you can't get more than 100 points for a score, and so we show that there's bonus points down here at the bottom. So anyway, that is I think that that's a very reduced version of what I did in the past. If you remember the old site, there was a written kind of analysis that I did for each one of the films that I would put on this page. And I left it off for a couple of reasons. For the first reason is, again, going back to my original idea, is I kind of want this to be a reference manual for Giallo films. I don't necessarily want it to be a place where my reviews of films or my analysis of films take center stage, because I don't think that's really what people use the site for, to be honest with you. And so I kept it out. It's like fluff free, right? The other reason why it's not on here is because, quite honestly, the site had not been updated in such a long time. And the reason was because I didn't have time or the energy to write an analysis for each one of these new films that I would add to the site. So if you go back to the scores list, we take a film like, let's see, Smile Before Death, for example, which will be the next item on the podcast. Will be the next film that we cover on the podcast. Smile Before Death is here because really all I need to do is go in and check off the boxes as I watch the film and submit the score into the website. And what I needed to do, and here getting a preview here, it got a 69, which is kind of an apropos score if I'm honest. But anyway, in the old version of the website, this page wouldn't be here because I wouldn't have taken the time to sit down and write a critical analysis of the film and how it performed on the Giallo score. And that happened for a lot of the films that I did in more recent years. Let me see if I can find one like Sleepless. Al and I did Sleepless very recently, and there was no way that that was going to end up on the Giallo Score website until I wrote something. So, again, taking this out allows me to score a film and get it on the site as soon as possible. I just watched Smile Before Death for the second time yesterday, and the score is ready to go already. So I'm hoping that that is going to be a trend that continues where all I really need to do is find a couple of screen grabs from the movie and score it and throw it up on the website right away. A couple other things I wanted to show you guys about the detail page. If we go back to, let's go back to Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. What I've done here on the film stats side is if you click 1971, or if you click Sergio Martino, or if you click Nora Orlandi, it's going to search as if you had typed that search in, but instead you're clicking on it. It's almost like hashtags, if you want to call it that. And that was kind of a functionality piece in the old site anyway, but I wanted to add a few more pieces of information that would make things better and allow the website to kind of reference itself and reference other parts of the site. So like if you click on George Hilton, now you can find all of the films that he's been in. And I will disclaim at this point that George Hilton's been in more than 2 films here. I just haven't updated all of the data yet. I wanted to launch the site as soon as possible, and as long as I made sure that I had all of the thumbnails and all of the movie posters on in the site for the new design, but I did not go through and fill out all of the additional film stats for every film. So again, if you look at Edwidge Fenwick, you'll see only Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward is here because I haven't gone through the rest of the database and added those tags. But I will be doing that in the next couple of days. Also notice that if you're interested in finding out when we talked about this film on the podcast, I've put links directly to the episodes. So if you click episode 49, we load up a new window, which you can't see, unfortunately, because of the way that I'm sharing my screen. But it jumps over to Giallo Ciao Ciao episode 49. It also jumps to episode 113, because that's one of the more recent episodes that we did. I've also added a Wikipedia page because sometimes the reference information on those pages is better than what's on IMDb, but there will always be an IMDb link as well. So again, just a few minor updates and quality of life improvements, if you want to call them that, for this main page. But again, nothing to read here. No critical analysis, no whatever, writing, basically. I think that will come later. I'm thinking about adding an area up here called articles. And I'll probably go through the old website and find some of the things that I've written for some of the films that I like, that I feel was good writing, and then create a whole separate section for articles. And so that'll come as a new feature, as an update down the road. And it'll give me an opportunity to say, hey, I do have an outlet to write more stuff about these films, but it's not a requirement for every single entry in the database. So that's the scores, that's the detail page. If you go to criteria, this basically is just the exact same thing as we had before, which is a long form information page about where all of the criteria comes from, what it means, what the points are. Because if you look at an individual film, unless you're looking at something like Deep Red, like let's look at Autopsy, for example. Autopsy got 50 out of 60 in Staples, 20 out of 30. I'm sorry, 50 out of 60. This says Staples twice. Gee, I need to fix that, don't I? This should be Staples, this should be Standards, and this should be Signatures. So if you're thinking, well, what are the other signatures? What are the other Staples? The easiest way to do that is to go into Criteria, and it will show them all: Staples, Standards, and all of the signatures. And there are a lot of them. The signatures list has grown over the years, and it's the one that I am always adding more things to. I really don't think that the Standards or the Staples can really be changed that much, other than the fact that after talking to Al over a few podcast episodes, we decided that, if the director was Spanish, that should get some credit. And if the film came out in the pre-classic period, which is really the first the last 2 years before Bird with Crystal Plumage came out, that should get some points as well. But the rest of the stuff pretty much has remained the same. At one point, we add Riz Ortolani to the list of composers for Giallo films, which I think is important. And, these one-pointers, there's lots of them. And again, you can only get a max of 10 points. So I'm going to skip over DIY score for a minute and go to the podcast page. This is just a landing page for the podcast in case, for whatever reason, you don't know about our podcast already, or people discover it through this website and not through the general podcast avenues. There's a player in here for Spreaker that's been kind of embedded, so if you want, you can listen to the podcast through here. Most people don't do that, but it's here. And all the episodes are here, all the way down to episode 1. Now, the thing that I'm kind of most excited about to show everybody is the DIY score page, which basically means, look, I've had lots of people over the years tell me, hey, I use your website and I use your scoring criteria when I watch a movie. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a Giallo film. It could be any film that you want to give the Giallo score treatment to. So DIY score is where you would go for that. So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll notice over here on the right-hand side, we have total score equals 0. So now as you're watching the film, if it's an Italian director, and it's the pre-classic period, and the killer's motivation is blackmail or monetary gain, and the killer's demise, well, maybe you're not at the end of the film yet. Maybe you don't know the killer's motivation yet. Maybe you know that there's a hidden identity and black gloves, and there's a high body count, and there's an airplane and a chase scene, and hippies dancing, and of course a bottle of J&B. My script screwed up, didn't it? Okay. There's some bugs, guys. I mean, this is a labor of love. I haven't, I don't have a team of beta testers here. You guys are my beta testers, really. So, anyway, you can see the score goes up as you check things off. So it's kind of like a fun thing. I think a lot of people, like I said, over the years have asked, hey, I would love to be able to score my own films at my own pace. Now you can do it right on the website. It doesn't submit anywhere. It's just for fun. So that page is there. So that's kind of it. The only other thing I wanted to show you guys is that I'm very proud of this because it's the first time that this has ever happened in the history of this website. But if you'll notice that I have built it so that it will fit on a small smartphone screen. You can see here that the way that the site lays out is different. It doesn't do the rollover to give you the score. It just shows the thumbnail, the title, and the score. But it all fits. And you can click into, Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, and you get all of the information. You can see that it's laid out differently, but all the information is still there. You can even go to DIY score, and you can roll up your own version. As you can see, total score is going to kind of be attached to the window as you scroll around, which is kind of cool. And so you can, there's no reason why now you have no excuse for not going on the Giallo Score website just because you're not at home and not in front of your computer. You can go to gialloscore.com, thegilloscore.com, and on your phone, and do the same kind of thing. You can go into the Giallo Finder and type the word blood, and we get 7 blood-stained orchids, the blood-stained shadow, the case of the bloody iris, the blood-stained butterfly, bay of blood, blood and black lace. Very cool. You can resort them, low to high score. So again, I'm really proud of this because this is the first time that I've kind of made the site available to mobile phone users. And again, when this first came out in 2012, I don't think that was that big of a deal, but it is now. So this is what it looks like if you're using, say, an iPad. You get kind of the full website experience. If you are on an iPad mini, what you'll notice is that you get 2 thumbnails per row instead of 3. It doesn't get any bigger than that. And if you go into Deep Red, for example, you'll notice that the poster isn't there. But if I switch this to responsive real quick, just to show you how you can squeeze the site to be smaller, as it gets bigger, the page opens up to the point where the poster shows up. So, just some kind of cool things just to make it more accessible for everybody. I think that's it. Now, besides a new section for DIY Score and a section for articles, which I'm going to eventually put in, I'm also working on something that would be for the true nerds in the audience here, and we'll call it stats for now. And basically, it's going to be a whole section where the scores are kind of aggregated and graphed or charted so that you can see trends. So you might see a pie chart that shows various slices of all of the films in the database based on their scores, based on who wrote the soundtrack, based on what stars are in them, or even something as silly as, how many films had Edwidge Fenech and nudity. Well, I guess they all did. How many films had Edwidge Fenech? Edwidge, I always have a problem saying her name because it depends on what country you're from. Edwidge Fenech, and George Hilton, and directed by an airplane taking off. Put those 2 or 3 things together and show me that list. So that's what that page is going to be all about. So that's it, guys. The site is officially launched now, so head over and check it out, play around with it, and I would really appreciate any feedback that you guys have. Feedback related to the criteria, feedback related to how the website looks on various browsers or phones. Like if you experience something and it doesn't look good, take a screen grab of it and send it to me. I would really appreciate it because I have a very limited amount of ways to test the website. And again, there is an email address down at the bottom, thejalloscore@gmail.com. Send me your feedback that way. And as far as jalloscore.com without the as in its domain, I'm still trying to get my hands on that domain. It was very recently renewed after having expired in, I think, July or August. And I know that the registrar will give the domain owner like 2 months or 3 months to renew before it goes back out and makes itself available to the general public. But whoever owns it auto-renewed it. And at one point, it was being used for something in Korean or Vietnamese for gambling and strippers and stuff, and it's unfortunate. But thejalloscore.com is where we live and breathe now. If I ever do get a hold of jalloscore.com again, I will add it so that they both come to the same place. For now, if you go to jalloscore.com, I don't think you see anything. I think it's just a placeholder page. Anyway, I think that's all I have. And I wanted to take a moment to say thanks again for being a part of the Giallo Chow Chow community, for being a part of the jalloscore.com website. And again, please, by all means, send any and all feedback and questions for the website to thejaloscore@gmail.com, and anything related to our podcast, Giallo Chow Chow at gmail.com, or check us out on Discord, or check us out on Facebook. The Discord link, it's just a random bunch of letters and numbers, so I'm not going to say what it is. But if you go to Giallo Chow Chow on Facebook, you'll find our group there. And that's kind of it, guys. So let me know what you think, and stay tuned because we probably only have one episode left in 2025. I was hoping for two, but we'll see with everybody's availability what happens. But again, Smile Before Death will be our next episode. It is an Al pick, and I'm going to go ahead and jump the gun a little bit on the spoilers. I loved it. The first time I watched it, I fucking hated it. And I don't know what was wrong with me. Maybe it took a second time. It's very possible that I fell asleep the first time I watched it, and I missed some of the nuance, but I watched it again yesterday, and it's great. It's such a great film. It's probably because Rosalba Neri is in it, and I just love looking at her. She's beautiful. But yeah, it's a good story, a good plot. So put that on your watch list, because hopefully Al and Matt and I will get together soon and talk about it, and then you'll have us to listen to after you watch it. So that's it, I guess. Yeah. Thanks again, everybody, and head over to thejaloscore.com and check it out. I will continue to add more and more films and more features to the site as I go along. But again, I'm so happy that it has got a new lease on life, and it looks more modern, and I'm very excited about it. So I hope you are too. And until next time, everybody, ciao ciao. Bum 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 bum. La 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 la. No, that's cut that out. Stop it. Stop.